Hello and welcome back to Infinite Roleplay. I'm Nelson, and I want to be discussing grappling today. I've been catching up on a lot of my subscriptions uh, and been watching a lot of Nerdarchy stuff lately. So if I'm a little late to the game, please forgive me. But they were talking about grappling, and I started thinking of some tactics for a grappler, and thought, why not share it with the community? Right now, as I'm talking live, I have a link up to the Hangout. So if anybody would like to add to the conversation, feel free to chime in. But until then, I I'm going to share some things with you. What I think a grappler may be amazing at, amazing, is coupling a grappler with a wizard, with an invoker. Because let's say a human grappler, fighter, right? Human with the variant, you start off with a feat, you take the grappler feat right off the bat for the ability to pin your opponent. When your opponent is pinned, you and your opponent are restrained, which means you automatically fail dexterity saving throws. However, when a wizard who has taken the evocation school, an evoker, second level, can create pockets of safety for his allies. He chooses a number of allies equal to 1 plus his intelligence modifier, and those allies automatically succeed on their spell saving throws. And if the spell saving throw would allow for half damage upon a save, the ally takes no damage instead. That's amazing. Like, let me pop open the book and actually find it. Because with some of the spells that come out with like elemental evil, you can have your evoker just do cast a bonfire, and your grappler can just sit there and hold the enemy into the bonfire and not take damage for lower level play. Even for high level play, because bonfire scales with level, you can then have your grappler try to grapple the most dangerous or scary opponent, someone you want to sort of unload on, and have your grappler, do the whole pinning thing and throw fireballs. Just fireball after fireball, and just say, okay, Mr. Grappler, you're safe. You're safe. You're safe. Don't worry about it. Also, with things like Everd's Black Tentacles or a web, you know, I don't know if they allow for dexterity saving throws at all times, but your grappler can drag a target to one of those static AoE spells that lasts over time and toss an enemy back in it. I mean, why not, right? See, the wizard, the evoker, arcane ward. No, that's abjuration. Forgive me, school of evocation. Arcane School of Evocation, scope spells, beginning second level. You can create pockets of relative safety within the effects of your evocation spells. When you cast an evocation other spell that other creatures that you can see, you can choose a number of them equal to 1 plus the spell's level. The chosen creatures automatically succeed their saving throws against the spell, and they take no damage if they would normally take half on a successful save. This is on page 117 of the player's handbook. So all you have to do is couple, like, your grappler is pure support to your mage. Might sound odd, but grappling doesn't is not going to produce as much damage as swinging great axe. It's going to be fun to toss around enemies left and right with the grappler feat. You can do that to large targets as well. Not huge, but huge can clap their hands and smush you. But that is like just that idea, the building a party, having a party dynamic, not a group of individuals, but a party. That's where a grappler shines, I think, personally. See, grappler fleet, you need 13 strength, you have advantage on attack rolls against a creature that you are grappling. You can use your action to try to pin a creature. If you succeed, the both of you are pinned. All right, at higher levels, if you dip into what is it, Bard or I just saw this, either Bard or Rogue, and get expertise in athletics, then nobody's really messing with you. Nerdarchy said that you can go Barbarian, but that may or may not work. I'm not sure because of the way Rage works. You have to either be getting swung at, damaged, or attacking people. So for lower levels, I'm not sure. When you get multi attack, when you get an additional attack via attack action, that works amazingly. But it's crazy. Even Sentinel, like, to augment your grappleriness, if you're not ready to grapple or whatever, and you close with an enemy, and you decide to start, you know, boom, boom, just hitting them, trying to lay out some damage, and then your mage goes after you, and your mage casts bonfire at a target in which you're fighting, and the target wants to move out of the created bonfire, you could use Sentinel to deal a weapon attack. And if you hit with your attack, you drop the creature's speed to 0 to keep them in the bonfire. And unarmed attacks in the book are actually weapon attacks. They count as weapon attacks, which is pretty crazy, but that's how 5th edition is. So, Sentinel, Grappler, Tavern Brawler if you're not a monk, Tavern Brawler even if you are a monk, because it allows you to, as a bonus action, grapple a target that you hit with an unarmed strike or an improvised weapon. So you can be rolling around with your fighter, monk, rogue, whatever, and start grappling people like left and right. Uh, if you go rogue, if you go rogue, you have advantage against targets you're grappling, right? And you can grapple with one hand. So all you need to do is go rogue with a short sword or rogue with a dagger, right? And basically grab somebody by the back of the neck and start shanking them in their gut. That's kind of what it counts as. And while they're grappled, you get advantage, so you automatically get your sneak attack. You're facilitating your own sneak attack without having to be nearby an ally or hide. Um, you can also use your reactions, like I said, with Sentinel to drop creature speeds to 0, to restrain creatures so that they automatically fail on their deck saves. So your wizard, specifically a wizard, an evoker wizard, because that allows them to damage the enemy without damaging you. You could start pumping down, dropping down spells. With the elemental evil companion, they have the create bonfire spell, which calls for a dexterity save. On a failed save, the target within that 5-foot square takes a d6 damage. This is scalable just like any other cantrip, so at 5th level it becomes 2d6, and so on and so forth, until it does ridiculous damage. You can just create a bonfire. It's a concentration spell, and when you're maintaining that concentration spell, you could just shoot out magic missiles or other cantrips, since you have advantage on that target because the grappler is grappling that target and attacks made against that person with advantage. Um, there's a lot of nice little tactics and things. Once you get to higher levels, you can as a fighter, you can go, like I said, the battle master, which is allows you to take some tricks, like sacrificing your action or one of your actions to allow an ally to attack. If you are grappling with an opponent and have opponent pinned, you yourself aren't, capable of doing that much damage. Like I said before, a D4 unarmed attack damage is not nearly the same as 2d6 with a greatsword, right? But let's look at some cool maneuvers. Distracting strike, no. Evasive footwork, feinting attack, goading attack, lunging attack, menacing attack, parry. That'll help you stay alive a little longer. Precision pushing when you hit a creature. Push, nah, rally repost. Sweeping attack. You hit a creature with a melee weapon attack. You can expend one spirit die to attempt to damage another creature with the same attack. Choose another creature within 5 feet of the original target within your reach. If the original target roll would hit the second creature, it takes damage equal to the number you roll on your superiority die. The damage is of the same type dealt by the original attack. That's interesting. Where's the one where you tell someone, "Hey, you hit this guy"? Commander strike, right? When you take an attack on your turn, you can forego one of your attacks and use a bonus action to direct. Yeah. So when you get high enough to get additional attacks, 5th level fighter, um, ugh. So you can attack twice. Use one of your attacks to initiate the grapple. Use your second attack to initiate a commander's strike. Forego one of your attacks and use a bonus action. Wow. Forego your second attack and your bonus action to call like the damage dealer and say, "Hey, kick this guy in the face." That's my brother. I love him, but he's loud. Wow. Trip attack. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can expend one superiority die, attempt a knock target prone. You add the superiority die to the damage. Boom. Must make a strength saving throw. You can, and when you gain multi attack, you can attack, expend a superiority die to deal a trip attack, hopefully knock them on their ass, and as a bonus action, grapple them, right? And attack them again. It's pretty crazy. Or maybe instead of attacking them a second time, attack them once, trip attack. Once they're on their butt, if you're alone, you grapple them as a bonus action and then take the second attack action to further screw that person over by restraining them, and your mage goes and does his wonderfulness. If you're a rogue and only have a single attack action, it's best that you take your attack actions to get your sneak attack as often as you can, and dish out that sneak attack. That's actually pretty interesting. High level rogue. Nobody wants to talk with me. Nobody's joining. I hate you guys. No, I don't know. I love you guys. Let's not start a fight. Let's start a riot. A riot. Let's see what else a rogue can do. Rogue at 5th level does not get an additional attack action, but by the time a rogue hits 6th level, they can take expertise athletics, and just whip people, just rip them apart in grappling, right? And at that time, you have 3d6 sneak attack, right? You have 3d6 sneak attack. So, you're. Hey, what's up, guy?
Hi, how are you?
Talking about fun things you can do with grappling and being a grappler.
Oh, actually, yeah, I was having a quick look at it, and it seems like a really interesting concept. I mean, depending on the situation, if you're fighting, like several melee kind of characters. But yeah, kind of hoping I could learn some some wisdom on it to expand.
Well, what I was talking about, I'm trying to come up with all these ideas, and it's very difficult talking to yourself. But yeah, what I was saying is that a grappler, any sort of class with a grappler build, coupled with an evoker, a wizard who specializes in the School of Evocation. Because when they specialize in the School of Evocation, they get the Sculpt Spells feature, which is a number of creatures, which of course is going to be your grappler friend, equal to 1 plus your intelligence modifier. You can choose to automatically succeed on a spell saving throw. And if the spell lists damage for half, they take none instead. So you can protect them from your spells. And at lower levels, they have in the Elemental Evil Companion a cantrip called Create Bonfire. Create Bonfire is in a 5 foot square, you summon a bonfire. Any enemy that starts its turn, any enemy there, when you cast it, rolls a dexterity save or takes d6 fire damage. Any creature that ends its turn in the bonfire rolls a dexterity save or takes damage, and the first time any creature enters the bonfire has to roll a dexterity save or take the damage. It's a cantrip and it's a concentration spell, and once cast, it takes no actions to concentrate. You just have to avoid taking damage. But if you couple that with a grappler that has the grappler feat and can pin targets, when you pin a target, you and that target count as restrained. Restrained creatures automatically fail their dexterity saving throws. So you as a character fail your throw, but because the evoker has that ability, they can choose you to succeed that throw, and you're taking no damage instead. So you're pinning a target inside of a cantrip that, after the initial casting, takes nothing to maintain. The wizard can continue to cast other cantrips or magic missiles, even if they're attack saves, because when attacking a restrained target, you roll with advantage. So
Oh
your
wow!
wizard, yeah, so your wizard can start doing firebolts on top of that. Create a bonfire and then just firebolt every round thereafter, and roll with advantage. Or even a witch bolt, which does a lot of damage, but all depends on whether or not you hit that first time. So giving your, literally giving your wizard advantage is a big thing, and then forcing them to stay there in that created bonfire is another huge thing. The same thing with like a flaming sphere. You summon the flaming sphere. If a target is within 5 feet of the flaming sphere, they have to roll, or they take fire damage. It's also a dexterity saving throw. Again, sculpt spells to protect your grappler ally, and they can just pin somebody on the floor and have them automatically fail, and then just take that 2d6 fire every round. And that's another concentration spell. But again, you can start using your actions to pepper them with cantrips that get advantage to hit. And that's just a party dynamic between those two. And as the grappler, yeah, you're restrained, but grappling only takes one of your attack actions to do. So if you take the grappler feat and later on the tavern brawler feat, when you attack with a weapon attack, with an unarmed attack or an improvised weapon attack, as a bonus action you can grapple. So if they're staying there fighting with you, you're hitting them, you're jabbing them in the gut, holding them down, pinning them with one hand, and then you can just continue the grapple, continue the pin. If you take something like rogue, you can take expertise at 7th level and take expertise in athletics. I believe might have something to do with grapple, and get a bigger bonus to your grapple checks. Also, if the target's restrained, and actually with the grappler feat, you attack that target with advantage, so you can facilitate your own sneak attacks. If you're not fighting side by side with an ally, you can build a strength dexterity rogue and then just jab at them with the You don't even need dexterity. You only need to attack with a finessable weapon. A finessable weapon is what is needed for your sneak attacks. Uh oh, he crashed. No, he didn't crash. He came back as someone else. Are you there, brother? I don't know. So yeah, um, continuing with that vein, sneak attack requires you use a finessable weapon. It does not require that you use your dex with the finessable weapon to get your sneak attack. So you can still build strength build that your main stat, grapple, and then in successive rounds just attack with advantage. Ah, there you go.
Sorry about that. Apparently, my internet told me to go screw myself.
That's terrible.
It's funny though because I was actually having a Google Hangout with another member on YouTube, and we were talking about spellcasters. I've always been a little intimidated by spellcasting, mostly because I just kind of just fresh into D&D and other tabletop RPGs. But I mean, from what you've explained, that sounds quite powerful. That you could easily spam that kind of a system where you're just constantly, constantly basically creating a void where you just you don't take hits. You don't your minion or your buddy doesn't take hits, and you just continuously attack, and not a problem. I mean, I think something like that would probably be up to the like players and DM's discretion to say, okay, look, you've got this pretty powerful thing, so great power, great responsibility. So maybe not use it. Kind of a scenario. I mean, now fighters like a grapple fighter would be kind of interesting. Someone to like depending on how you'd want to play it out. But if you have a whip, you try and like hook the guy or hook the enemy, pull him in, or a monk, that can do some kind of like jujitsu or judo, like something to that effect where they can grapple and fight and things like that. I mean, that would be a pretty fascinating thing of grappling. And I think, depending on your style of play, if you're a heavy RPer or if the group kind of really likes a good story, then yeah, you can make some pretty awesome cinematics with the grappling and things like that. And I think that really bolsters people's people's perceptions of the game. So when you get this like, yeah, I cause like I flip my whip and it catches him by the leg and I pull him in and I pick him up and body slam him through choke slam him through a table. It's like, whoa, this is really awesome, and people start getting more into it. So I think grappling and other things like that are a great way to bring players and together into like kind of a more RP focus or more, wow, what can I do now? What can I do now? Kind of a thing.
Yeah, I gotta double check to see how grappling would work with a whip. But definitely, if you go the fighter route and take the battle master, they have
Mm.
things like trip attack that you can do at range with the whip and trip them at a distance. Um,
Oh, cool.
you expend superiority die, and they have to roll a save. If they fail the save, they're flat on their butts. They're prone. So that's a few. I didn't think about the whip though. That's very interesting to add into the build. Um, I go around calling myself the totally immersed power gamer because I'm a serious power gamer, but I also absolutely love role playing. The whole nine of role playing, character visualizations, voices. But I also love optimizing my build for what I want to do.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you also like I fully understand is you play whatever character you feel comfortable with or you enjoy, but yeah, I mean I guess there are certain limits to what you wanna build. I mean, especially if you're dealing like with 5e. One thing I really like about 5e is that there are no penalties. I do kind of like that you don't, because I understood what they were going with the penalties. Like, yeah, you want to play a dwarf that has this constitution and this strength, but you're going to have to take a bit of a hit instead of just constantly going up and up. So I could kind of understand that, but yeah.
Yeah, previous editions were more about give and take, and this edition is just about giving. But it makes it easier for beginners to learn. It's more of an entry level system now than it has ever been. Uh, but yeah, with the grappling doesn't seem like much more than core thematics and fun or funny things you can do. I've been inspired to do this by watching some of the Nerdarchy stuff because I have like a million subscriptions and it takes me forever to catch up. So one of the things they were talking about was that one grappler uh, is a pirate. He's a Warforged pirate, so he can grapple people, jump into the water, and has no need to breathe, and he could drown them. But that takes too long. Throwing somebody into the water might be fun, but so is throwing somebody into an Evert's Black Tentacles, which is a static AoE spell, or a Hunger of Hadar. You know, it's a static area of effect spell. That within the spell, you roll saves, and if you fail, really bad stuff happens. If you succeed, you take about half damage. Now with something like Evert's Black Tentacles and the ability to sculpt a spell, you can literally have your grappler run in, drag the person. Right, moving while grappled is difficult. You move at half speed, but if you position yourself right or do a few things correctly, I mean, with grapple, to show how attractive grappling really is, as far as party dynamic, you can grapple someone, drag them into the Evert's Black Tentacles, and literally walk in there yourself. And then when you're in there, pin your target. And that's really all you have to do. And you facilitate that much damage output from your mage by not being affected by that spell. You're not taking damage, you're just holding somebody there while they die.
That's true. I mean, that does make a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, if you, I don't know, I definitely understand, and I definitely agree with that. Like that does make for very very interesting combat, and I think grappling is really underutilized. A
Yeah.
lot of the games that I've seen, like no one ever really says, yeah, and I grab the guy and I throw him to the ground. Oh, really? But you have the spell, or you have a bow, or you have the sword that you could skewer him. Why would you grab him? And a lot of people I think just don't really say, well, yeah, let's give that a shot. I mean, I don't know if I think Pathfinder had a pretty kind of a complex grapple system, or a little complex of a grapple system, so there were more chances to fail. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of players are kind of concerned about is, well, I don't want to fail, or I don't want the chance to not succeed in this. But
Well,
I think
yeah,
I think it's all about. Sorry, go ahead.
the wondrous things of online chatting. Um, well, what I was about to say was that previous editions of D&D and the D20, licensing, is that grappling is, you do get more chances to fail. Way back in third edition, they released the Inapproachable East and Rokugan books for third edition D20 to work with D&D and whatnot. And the feats they had in there, they had several feats for grappling, which made it more of an attractive build, and actually played a sumo wrestler uh, back then. And one of the feats for grappling was basically a bear hug, where you deal double damage to the target you're grappling. You pin them, and once they're pinned, you, while they're pinned, as part of the pinning action, you deal double your unarmed damage.
Oh wow, that's actually really good.
Yeah, that doesn't exist in fifth edition though.
Mm.
But it doesn't make it, it doesn't make it not viable. Like another thing a grappler can do is if, let's say, the wizard grappler combo, right? If the wizard casts fly on your grappler and they grapple a target, they can fly. They're moving at half speed, right? So they fly 30 feet up. But at the end of their turn, they could just drop someone. And falling 30 feet, you take 1d6 per 10 feet of fall damage. They take an additional 3d6 after everything's said and done. So
Yeah. No, and that's actually a good. I guess that's a very viable action. Um, Although I can say it would probably be difficult for the DM if he's got one good bad guy, one good boss, and then that they try and start spamming that where they grab him, fly him up, and then just drop him over a precipice or something, or drop him down like 30, 40 feet.
I don't know. I the way I DM, I always let it happen. If you're smart enough to come up with that kind of creative problem solving, do
Mm.
it. All power to
Oh,
you. Reward that
oh yeah.
intelligence.
Oh, for sure, and yeah, exactly. I mean, uh, I think that's one of the great. Like I've only DM'd once, and it was online, and it was actually even like it was live on YouTube, and oh my gosh, I was so nervous. I, like, hey, first time, let's put it on YouTube so everyone can watch. But yeah, the more I saw my players try to figure out or like skirt around different issues, I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like I can see this is the part about DMing that's really really awesome. Like come up with a different solution that even you didn't think of. That's one thing I really like, and I think you're right. I think the grappling, throwing them into the tentacles or even like grabbing them and throwing them and then holding them there. It's a different solution that's in the rules that people don't really pick up on, and it's pretty
Yeah.
awesome stuff. So yeah.
There's more things you can do, like facilitating your own sneak attack if you want it to be a rogue grappler, like things you can do that don't have anything to do with the party dynamic. If you just want to, my problem is I'm always finding myself DMing for a party of individuals. It's not necessarily a problem, but they're a party of individuals that may work together. Uh, there's not much of a party dynamic. Nobody's there to literally support in specific ways. So I find myself holding back in a lot of actual actions that may screw a party up because there's easy ways to just pit them against each other, pit their inability to work with each other uh, against them. But that's an entirely different discussion. But with grappling, it just popped in my head. A cleric has a few awesome spells. Like clerics only get one attack action, right? Uh, if they have the time to build up, they can say in one round cast Spiritual Guardian, which creates a 15-foot area of effect that I believe is a dexterity-based effect, where um, once you cast it, you select the number of allies. The number of allies is stipulated in the spell that are unaffected by your spiritual guardians. Anyone who is affected, once they close within the area of effect of that spell, must roll a dexterity check and take some damage, or damage for half. As a grappler, you cast that, and as a bonus action, cast Spiritual Weapon, which swings and attacks. And then all you have to do is just grapple someone and pin them. Then they're constantly affected by your spiritual guardians without having to roll a save because they automatically fail. Then on top of that, as a bonus action, your spiritual weapon gets advantage on all of its attacks.
Oh, nice. Yeah, actually, that is really powerful. And also, being a cleric, you've got a relatively high AC, so you don't have to worry about someone coming in or trying to hit you, because you're pretty well. You're not really necessarily like a paladin level tank, but you're pretty close to it. So that's
So you can be like if you go cleric of the Tempest domain, with the
mhm.
storm and electricity.
Yeah.
If your grapple target's pinned on the floor, right, and they attack you, you have like a retributive spike attack. You shoot lightning out at them. It jumps out at them, um, and that's also a dexterity save. So you yourself are just leveling damage on one target, and you're also creating that same situation with the evoker wizard that they could level damage at the same target and just choose not to affect you.
Oh, right on.
Combining all those tactics. And if you have, say, a rogue that likes to shoot with a bow, they're attacking with advantage at ranged and landing sneak attacks all at the same time. You can seriously change, the playing field as far as battles, fighting, just by being support, just by being a grappler.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and yeah, that's actually something I would probably even want to try out. I just like recently building one character, and yeah, I'm gonna try. I would like to. Maybe I'll even consider trying that for a barbarian build. Just something who's strong. Strong can like pin someone to the ground, and yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. I think I'd probably like to try that out,
The,
especially because he's a dragonborn, so he's got the breath weapon.
oh yeah, just hold them right there and blah.
Ex- exactly. So I mean that's something that could definitely work out. Especially, I'm even surprised because even at first level, it's a 2d6 with I think a
Now I think it's just a
can't,
flat 2d6.
yeah, but there's a I can't remember what the save DC is.
The save
Have
DC
it,
is 8 plus your proficiency plus your strength.
and then plus
Your
con.
strength.
Oh, for the breath weapon save DC, I think is like yeah, I think it's con proficiency and 8.
Con. Well, it's definitely a physical stat. Either strength. I thought it was strength, but I'm not actually looking at it right now.
Oh, that's all good.
But yeah, like still, it's still a deck save. So if your target's
Yeah,
pinned, it doesn't matter what your save DC is. They automatically fail.
exactly,
So it
exactly.
really doesn't matter. You only need to build one stat. So
Oh,
if
for sure.
if if you're if you're a character if your character has proficiency with heavy armor, just put on plate mail at your first available opportunity. You have an AC of 18 right off the bat, so you don't need dex.
Oh,
If you build cleric, clerics have some interesting saves via wisdom and attacks via wisdom, but if your target's pinned, they don't get their saves. So you don't necessarily even need to build that much wisdom.
oh, exactly, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, there's like I guess there's like certain situations. 'Cause I think for grappling, you have to have just like what one hand, at least one hand free or something like that's the yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, two weapon fighters would have a bit of an issue, or you'd have to like probably if you're a fighter, maybe drop your shield or not have your shield with you, or I don't know if that counts.
You can use a shield as an improvised weapon. So if you combine the grappler feat with Tavern Brawler as an attack, use your shield as an improvised weapon, and then it triggers your Tavern Brawler feat, which as a bonus action allows you to initiate a grapple.
Oh, cool.
And then you can
Okay.
grapple them with your free hand, just walking around with a shield and an empty hand.
Oh,
Then
nice.
grapple them with your free hand, and then while they're on the headbutt them afterwards, whatever. And the tavern brawler also allows you to attack with 1d4 damage instead of just one for your grapples. So you're effectively attacking with a dagger.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, that actually that does help a lot. But
Yeah.
again, like I don't like I've never played with feats, or at least I've never gotten a character up that high to unlock or get feats at fourth level or anything like that. Hopefully, at some point, I'll be able to get that, but uh, I just got to find the right campaign. It's kind of a tough part of it. Is
Well,
finding
where
the
did where
campaign.
did you see the link for this at?
Through the one shot group. So I'm a brand new member to the one shot
Oh,
group.
okay. So I mean, there's all sorts of ranges of games. I'm running a lot of higher powered games so that players can get you know so that I as a DM could get used to running a lot of high powered games, and so that the players can get used to the higher levels of fifth edition that are
Oh, that's
involved
cool.
there. I've got two games tomorrow actually. One I believe is at fifth or eighth, and the other one is at 14th level.
Oh wow. Yeah, that'd be a pretty interesting thing. Is it going to be live on YouTube or?
Yeah.
Oh, right on, right on. I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, I've got a few games that I've run in, a crap ton of games that I've played in all live on YouTube, um, plus a lot of other things. But you know, like the more and more I think about being a grappler, the more attractive sort of combinations I'm thinking of. And I think grappling is even if you're a power gamer, incredibly viable. If you're just about immersion and role playing, still it's incredibly viable. You know, doing hip tosses, judo throws, pins, arm locks, arm bars. You know, it's a great thing.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you want to pin the guy into a submission, or if it's a possible an NPC or a future NPC where you need to get information off of him, you obviously don't want to stab the guy because kill him, and you just lock him up into an armbar and throw him down, or a shoulder lock and like pop him to the ground, and okay, now start talking. What? Give me the information I need.
One of the other really big things before I forget about grappling is that you only require one free hand, so you can actually grapple two separate targets.
Oh wow.
So you can actually double up all the grapple them, restrain them, throw them in headlocks, sitting on the floor or whatever, and then just have all the AOE stuff on top of that.
Oh,
You know,
that's cool. Yeah,
it's
I didn't know you only need one hand to grab to technically grapple someone. That's pretty cool.
you only
That
need
would
one free
actually
hand.
that would definitely help out a lot. And actually, if you really want to go crazy, you can grapple someone, use them as an improvised weapon if you're strong enough, and throw them into someone else.
Yeah, use them as improvised weapons. Harkening back to that one shield, one open hand thing,
Hmm.
what would be interesting if when you're combining feats, taking the shield master feat,
Yeah.
which allows you to shove as a bonus action when you make a melee attack. So, depending on the situation, it's your choice to use your bonus action to initiate a grapple or to shove. So, like I said before, with the mage or with any spellcaster, it's safer if you have an evocation specialized wizard. It's safer.
Okay.
But with any spellcaster that's putting down those sort of static area of effect spells, as soon as a target escapes them, the spell's useless. Unless you have somebody that can charge in and shove a target back into it.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And
Yeah, but
with the shield master feat, you can apply your shield bonus, which is a +2, onto your dexterity saves. And if the spell allows a save for half, you take none instead. So it helps offset the specific need for an evoker.
oh wow, that's really awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah, so if
I
you go
mean,
fighter, a human fighter at level 1 gets a feat, the variant. At level 4 gets a feat, and then also at level 6 gets a feat.
oh cool. Yeah, that's the one thing. I mean, again, this is harkening back to what you had mentioned before about party dynamics. You have a party that works together. Yeah, it could be made in the most efficient manner possible, and when everyone kind of builds their character together and kind of works together, then everyone just kind of like the attacks all mesh and everything's like, okay, well, now I'm going to do this, okay, now I'm going to do this, and then everyone kind of gets it, and then that's where um, you really start to see grappling shine, is with the that kind of like cohesion between a party.
I'm almost about to go offline because this thing has been on forever, and I could ramble forever. But one last idea is to take, when you have a chance, take the grappler feat, and for your class, go Druid of the Moon. Wild shape, wild shape into a brown bear, and grapple as a brown bear. You sacrifice your multi attack to grapple, but you get the strength bonus of a brown bear. And regardless of what happens, that form takes damage. But there's also a few spells that you can cast that are I forget what it is, but there's some spells that you can cast to utilize that. As long as you cast before you polymorph, before you wild shape, like spike growth and some other things like that, and just as a brown bear, grab them by the neck and toss them to the spell.
Oh, wow, that's actually really that's a really cool idea. A druid would definitely shine in that respect.
Or polymorph into a giant spider, grapple them, and walk up a wall as high as you can. And if they break the grapple, they fall and take damage.
Makes sense. Totally makes sense. It's really
So
cool.
yeah. Until then, I'm gonna go offline. So yeah, my name is Nelson. My channel, if you haven't seen my channel, is Infinite Roleplay on YouTube. I do a bunch of artistic and roleplay related stuff.
Cool,
Along
cool.
with live plays and whatnot, rules discussions, power game discussions, art, all sorts of wonderful things. So,
I'll definitely check your channel out.
so
Real
for all
pleasure,
you
real
viewers out
pleasure
there,
talking to you.
no problem, brother. To you viewers out there, see you next time.